Variable resistance training, which is what X3 is all about. The further you push the band, the more resistance you get. You can't push the force that you can when you're out here.
Bent over row.
Deadlift. Activating the muscle, doing it in the right form. What is going on? So I just got the X3 bar system. I'm excited. This box just shipped. So I got the full system with the extended bands. In case you haven't checked it out, Dr. Jaquish's book is quite intriguing. It talks a lot about variable resistance training, which is what X3 is all about. Not only is it something you can do in your home, the whole setup literally comes in a box this big, and you can travel with this bad boy. So I'm excited to see how this thing does, how it really works out. I've been testing one of the older variations, but now that I have the new one, we're gonna go through the whole product and just look at it and take a look. Here's the big band right here. The X3 heavyweight band, if you will. Triple the gains gray band, the medium gray thickness right here. This level 3, probably not as heavy. And then an even lighter one, which is actually pretty dope. The quality of these bands is super high. Like, they use a really high quality latex rubber. The bar itself, we've got stainless steel. It's got the hooks on both sides to hook into the equipment. It actually rotates while you're holding it, so it prevents torquing on the wrist, but just has that movement for whatever the movement is that you're doing. So that's pretty well intelligently designed. They redesigned this. It's a little different than the one I have existing, but I like it. Seems like it's pretty similar. Chest press, tricep push down, overhead press, squats. This is a front squat. He's got the deadlift, the bicep curl, the bent over row, and then the calf raises here. So for the first movement, I like to do a wraparound. So I recommend getting gloves like these where you have a wrist wrap. There's a lot of advantages to this. One, it protects your wrist from getting tweaked one way or the other. You're gonna find as you lift or as you push, there's a lot of movement in the wrist, and if you can stabilize it, you don't rely on the wrap, but you allow it to keep your arm in a straight position. And you can kind of see from that shoulder video, the lifting mistakes video I put out, that it's a common mistake for people to reposition their shoulders, their arms in the wrong way. And then when they do a push, whether it's lifting on a barbell or with a band especially, you're going to get more of a tweak there. The other reason I like the wraps a lot is because you can actually wrap at the point where the band is gonna go across your thumb. And what I've found with that is that when you do that, you're able to provide more of a kind of a thick layer here, which helps with the actual resistance. Because when you're doing like a fly, like one of the main moves here, you're gonna find that you just don't feel as comfortable in your hands because you're pushing a lot more force in that thumb position. So by having this wrap, I can open up the wrist a little bit on the protection there, but then I can put more durability and more protection on the actual band, and that really helps me to do that. So for the first movement, there's 4 different bands here. There's a lighter one, and they're color coded in terms of resistance and strength and how much resistance you're getting. I am kind of a little bit more towards the heavier side, so I will take the third band, almost the heaviest band, and what I like to do is just put it around my shoulders here, around my back and my upper back range, and then get it into your hand positions so that it's really gonna be kind of right on the hands, and then you move it around on your back so it's right there. Now, for this position, a big important thing to keep in mind is whenever you're moving your body forward, you wanna try to keep your shoulder blades retracted, and that's to prevent yourself from coming in here and involving all your shoulders in your traps. That really isolates the chest. So for the lower pull movement, I'm gonna use the second band from the bottom, from the easiest, and I'm going to place it under the plate. There's a middle section here you can kind of see on the plate, and this allows it to have space under the floor so that you can actually allow the band to slide freely under here, and then you can basically put this on the ground and you can stand on this and you generate resistance. This is the bar that comes with the system. These parts rotate freely. It's stainless steel, which is good because it doesn't create stress or torquing while you're pulling or pushing. And then you hook the bands in here and you get that effect from that. So with this, I'm going to come in here and loop this around the bottom here. I'm going to stand firmly on the plate. I'm going to make sure my feet are secure, because if you pull this thing up and you're not firm on this, this plate is going to fly up into your face. Now, you want to lock your back out and really get that arch, and then focus on pulling from the back and feel those lats generating most of the pull here. Ooh, that is quite a lightheaded movement. When I'm done with that, I feel the burn. The science in the book talks about how variable resistance can be really powerful. What they mean by that is there's a lot of things that you get with variable resistance, but the idea is that the further you push the band, the more resistance you get. And by doing that, when you're bench pressing, for example, you have very minimal strength here compared to where you are when you're here and you're almost near the lockout. You can push a lot more weight here, but down here at your negative, you're much more vulnerable to injury, and you're also more at risk for, you just can't push the force that you can when you're out here. So adding bands can be a great way. People do it with chains as well. They add chains to the barbell and it lifts and adds weight as they lift up because there's more chains coming off the ground. But these bands can be a great way to do that as well. Now, with the back pull, you actually probably have a little bit more force at the bottom, so it's a little bit less of that. But at the same time, you get an amazing pump with that. You get an amazing pull with it. And the resistance, again, increases as you get to that top point, so you really feel it. And you get time under tension. You get increased force that's being pulled against your muscles to stimulate that muscle growth and stimulate that strength gain, which is really kind of what's interesting to me. So when I look at this system, I'm looking at it as sort of a complement. I don't really buy into the idea that I'm not gonna lift weights. I think that you need to have weights, something that bodybuilders have been doing for years. I don't think that they wouldn't have figured this out and completely gotten rid of gyms and weights if bands were the answer for everything. But I do think there is some power in magic in having a band system. And certainly if you're not even lifting weights and you're just trying to get stronger, there is some real interesting science out there for injury prevention, for optimizing what you can get out of your lifts. So it's something to consider, especially when you're there. Now let's go to the bench press movement. That's one of my favorites. The force production that it gives me with just one band isn't enough. And so I kind of double up the bands and then I put them together like this. And then what I do, once I have them lined up like that, is I take one of the packing bands and I wrap it around this. So I try to get these fairly in line and get them fully kind of out to where I want them to be. And then I wrap this. Let's see if I can get this in frame. And then I wrap this thing. Now that I have this fairly compact, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it around myself like this. So I'm gonna take this, and because I put all the bands together, I have it in a position where I can pretty easily have it together. Now with this one, you might want to adjust your gloves to tighten up your wrists. You do not want your wrists to be bent in an incorrect position. Now for me, as I mentioned before, I'm looking for longevity, I'm looking for performance and in all of that with my bench, and I want my shoulders to be protected. So I'm gonna get this thing right around where I want it to go, and then I'm gonna push. And you can feel a very deep lift in your chest. I also feel it a lot in my triceps. This puts so much force it's so much resistance on your arms. I've definitely noticed strength gains and aesthetic gains in the arms in particular since I started testing this thing out. The other thing you can do to add more to this is you can try to pinch your grips together. Something I learned while I was learning to do barbell bench press was to actually add in, pinch in the grips. So when you're coming down on your weight and you're coming down to your chest, you're trying to bring your hands together. And when you do that, it brings your mind-muscle connection to where you want to actually activate your muscles. And that's a big piece of any sort of physique build, muscle activation. In fact, right now I don't really lift weights and listen to music as much because I found that the music was a little distracting, or a podcast. And for me, I'm in the gym only a couple hours a week, a few hours a week. So whenever I'm doing a movement, I really want to take that time and focus on the actual movement. I want to make sure that I'm actually activating the muscle, doing it in the right form. That's really important to getting the physique, into not injuring yourself, into building the right muscle mass in the right area. So for this movement, I'm gonna use the third band. I'm gonna do a deadlift. I'm gonna show you the deadlift. Again, we're gonna be using the plate, and we're gonna be showing you how this is utilized. So again, a lot of the band systems you could find might have bands, and certainly you could find bands like, similar quality, I suppose, that may give you the same sort of resistance and equality. But to get a bar and a plate that you can then lift from, all in one system, I found has been pretty interesting and pretty advantageous with this system. So get into the lock position, pull. That band is actually probably more than I want, but for me, I love deadlifting, but at the same time, it's a pain in the butt because you gotta throw the barbell down, add weight. With bands, you don't really have to do that. The other thing about bands and variable resistance with a deadlift is that you can actually remove a lot of the risk of injury with a deadlift, because when you're at that bent over position, you're most vulnerable of hurting your back. And obviously with a band, you're lowering the resistance when you're bent over. So it's helping with that bend over position to really lower the weight. But then when you get closer to that lockout position, you can pull up and you have more leverage, you have more position to actually properly lift in a safe way. Another cool thing about the system, and you could do this with any bands if you had this style of band and this plate and this bar, but again, you're getting a lot of that with this system. But you can take the band and you can not wrap the whole half of the band up, so you can actually have part of the band on the bar. And what I found with that is it significantly lowers the load, so that if I wanted to do, say, an actual front squat, I could come in here and put this in here, and then if I want to come up, I have that band at the top here, and I can still do this medium band here. This is the second band, but there's just no way I'd want to do this band at the other double wrap. It just would be too strong. Or I might do the double wrap with the lightest band and work on that resistance. I haven't fully figured out the best, but either way, obviously front squats are awesome. It's all happening with bands in my home, and I'm only having to do this, and it's taking about 15-20 minutes to get the whole workout in. Fridays, Saturdays, I usually go out, I stay up late, whatever. I don't want to be physically destroying myself. I just want to get some blood flow, get some muscle activation, and just have some exercise in the day. And this absolutely gives me that access to that. So I'm gonna wrap here with this last movement here, just to show you. I'm gonna put my wrist wraps around my wrists to kind of keep position straight. But with this one, we're gonna do a shoulder press. And I put the lightest band on, and I even looped it through the bar so that it's the lowest resistance on the plate with the lightest band, with the wrist wraps here. So I'm gonna get on the bar, on the plate so that I'm steady there and pretty even on the plate. And then I'm going to basically do like a curl up here, and I'm gonna stand up straight with, you know, a pretty relaxed stance, and I'm gonna press, just like a chest, shoulder press with a barbell. And this definitely has resistance because you can just feel it. I just started this movement recently, and it's really been a great addition. There you have it, some of the most key movements here for the X3 system. There's a tricep push down that you wrap the bands around your traps and push down. You could do single leg squats. I'm still learning the system. Overall, the quality and the construction is super high, and it comes as one unit. So, is it worth the money? I think as you get more successful in your business or in your life, you find things like grocery shopping, going to the gym, optimizing your life. You gotta cut corners and try to make, you gotta shave off time. You gotta shave time to get the results that you want as quickly as possible, and ideally optimize for that. I think adding bands has been really valuable for me. It's helped me break through some plateaus, especially after my actual weightlifting session. I come into the gym, I come home from the gym, 10 minutes after my workout, and I hit the bands. I do 2 sets usually of like back pulls, bench, and the flies. And I find that it gives me more pump and more burn at the end there. And I'm noticing that I'm getting more size, more strength because of that. Is it the end all be all for everything? Should it replace your gym? Probably not. If you weren't going to the gym, or you just, you wanted to have a little bit of an exercise workout, I can do this on my patio. I can do this in my bedroom. I'm going back to Seattle for the holidays next week. I'm gonna bring this and share this with my mom and my family and just give them an exposure to it to see how it works out for them, because it does give you opportunity to work out in situations where you might just be too lazy. There might be too much resistance to actually go and work out, and this gives you all of that. So I think from a time perspective and the quality of what it's made out of and the materials and how it's built and constructed, it's a pretty good value. And we'll talk more about this in my final kind of summary, but overall, those are some of the movements that you can see from this system. So what are my initial thoughts and overall experience so far with the X3 bar system? Well, quality-wise, the system is really high quality. You are gonna find, I think, a very hard time finding another product that uses variable resistance, uses bands, and has an intelligent design that comes in a full package the way this does, with the 4 high-quality bands, the actual bar, and the brown plate that's going to support the entire workout system that they built with this system. It is quite a bit of money, and you could piece together a lot of the elements yourself, but overall, for the actual build quality, I would say it's awesome. As far as the muscle growth stimulation and the fact that you don't need to lift weights, I'm skeptical. And frankly, from the research I've done, I don't know if that's exactly what it'll do, but for a lot of people, having a system like this in your home is going to make a big difference in giving you access to something that you just wouldn't go and do. And I found that since having it, I've been able to add an extra real nice burn pump to my workout days. And on off days or even the weekends when I typically don't go to the gym, I can still get a pretty strenuous workout, and I feel like I'm actually fatiguing my muscles and really getting a pump by using the system on my balcony, in my living room, just wherever. It's such an easy tool, and I'm gonna be traveling with it this week. We'll see how it does. It's a fairly big ground plate, so I'm gonna see how that fits in my suitcase, but overall, I'd love to see how this system fits into my suitcase and how it works with my travel plans, and if I can actually make it utilization of it. I'm actually going to a place where all the gyms are closed due to the COVID issue, and there's literally nothing going on in Seattle that you can really go. You can't do any public indoor eating, you can't go to any gyms, nothing. Everything is shut down. So I will keep you posted. This is an initial review, it's an initial unboxing, it's an initial look at some of the movements and how the system and the quality looks. Again, from a quality perspective, I think this thing is quite high. I am impressed with the overall build and what the system comes with. I think if you're looking to invest in a system, you're not going to get ripped off. You're not going to not get a quality product from this. And frankly, the shipping time, turnaround time was quite quick. So overall, I think this could be a great tool to add to your arsenal, and it could be something for the vast majority of people who don't have quite as aggressive goals on size and physique building to just maintain and stimulate muscle mass and perhaps preserve muscle growth and the results that you want. So that's my summary. I would really recommend checking out the book. I would recommend learning more about the actual variable resistance training and the science behind that. Check out some of Dr. Jaquish's podcasts, his interviews. He's done a ton of them online, and you can read more about his research. And if you're in the market for one, check it out. I think this is probably one of the best bangs for your buck in terms of a full, complete system. And so far, the initial quality looks good, but it is on the higher side of the budget side, and I don't know for sure how the results are gonna be until I put it to full use for a period of time, which I'll report back and let you all know. Let me know what you think. Comment below. Hit that like button if you're new to the channel or you like this video, and subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and I will see you on the next one.